Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik, and today I just wanted to discuss a patch that I designed with you. So I originally designed this patch as a way to utilize our overfolder as a VCA, as well as be able to have a patch that is a nice thin brassy lead but can quickly turn abrasive. So from left to right, I'm receiving MIDI into our MIDI port here from my Arturia KeyStep keyboard. I'm using two gate outputs as well as all three of the CV outputs. So my two gates are going to both of the envelope generators, one of which is going into the input number 1 of the audio switcher in our Lizard module, which is behaving as a VCO. And the other envelope is going into the fold input of our overfolder, which we will get to in a second. I'm using 3 of the CV outputs here. CV1 is going into the filter, which with that potentiometer turned all the way up, which allows the filter to track across the keyboard. And then I have CV2 outputs 2 and 3 going to the Lizard and the Multiwave CV inputs respectively. Now I have output number 2 from the Lizard module going into the VCF, as well as the output from the Multiwaves module, which is set to be a sawtooth wave. And now I have that input turned down, as you can hear, because I wanted to have this patch be something that I can manipulate on the fly, which is kind of the point of playing a synthesizer. So you can hear that. Then I have the 18 dB per octave low pass output going into the overfolder, which is then going directly into the mixer. As you can see, I'm not using either of our VCAs, because that is because the overfolder is actually behaving like a VCA in this patch. You notice I have the fold parameter turned all the way down. If I unplug this modulation source, you'll hear that we don't get any audio. That's because at the extremes, the fold parameter negates the audio. And I have envelope 2 into the fold input here, and you can hear. If I turn the attack up, you can really get a flavor for what it's doing. So it's behaving like a VCA, albeit a much more abrasive VCA. Like I said, now I have the multi-waves also going into the input number 2 here, so you can hear as I turn this knob up, I can use this to just make it much more abrasive. And there you have it. Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik to discuss another patch that I designed with you. Now, today's patch is a relatively simple one designed to show off some of the features of the audio switcher, which is part of the Lizard module. So starting from left to right, I am receiving MIDI from my Arturia KeyStep MIDI controller into our MIDI port here. I'm taking 2 of the gate outputs into both of our envelope generators, and then I'm taking CV number 2 into the Lizard module here. Now the Lizard module is behaving as a VCO, and I'm only using output number 2, which is the output for the audio switcher. I'm taking that output into our VCA, which is then going into the mixer and then out. So there's no filters, no audio wave folding or anything going on here. So in our audio switcher down here, we have our 8 inputs. Right now I have input number 1 receiving CV from our first envelope generator here. So let me give you an idea of what that sounds like. So basically just generating a very thin pulse wave, but you are getting the motion of the envelope generator. So you can hear, as even though this envelope generator 2 here is controlling the VCA, that sustain is all the way up, we still lose the signal because the envelope generator 1 here is what's actually being fed into the audio switcher. So there you go. It's pretty simple. Now I want to take LFO number 2 and 3 from our multi-waves module and plug it into inputs number 5 and 7 here. And here it's going to get a little bit of motion. So you can hear the wide range of sounds we get with just a couple knob turns using the audio switcher from the Lizard module. And there you have it. Thanks. Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik to discuss another patch that I've designed for you. Today's patch was designed more to be a one-shot effecty type hit sound, so this time I'm actually going to play it for you first, and then I will explain to you how we got this sound. So here we go. So that was the sound, and basically there are a few things happening right now. So the main sound that we're hearing, or the main oscillator that is getting output, is the Lizard module that is outputting. We are operating in mode 4, type 4, and that is outputting through our filter, which is then the 18 dB per octave low pass filter. Out is going out to our VCA, which is being controlled with this ADSR envelope here, which is basically just acting as a gate high and low. There's no real shape to that envelope. However, most of our modulation for this is coming from the multi-waves here, which is behaving as a VCO right now, as a triangle wave. That output is being fed through this VCA here, which is then being fed into the FM input of the Lizard module. Now this VCA here is being controlled by this envelope, which is then controlling the depth of the frequency modulation of that sound. And then I also have modulation on our filter input here with this LFO here controlling the rates, and then this knob controlling the depth. So I was turning all those knobs as the sound evolved. So I will give this to you one more time so you can hear it, but basically what's happening is our envelope generator is controlling the depth of the FM input on our Lizard. There you have it. Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik, and today I wanted to discuss with you another patch that I have designed. Now today's patch was designed to utilize the sequencer aspect of our Lizard module, so I have it actually doing a couple different things. Again, I'm going to let you hear the patch that I have made, and then I will tell you how I made it. So let's give this a listen. Cool. So I have a couple things going on right now. I'm using the lizard as a sequencer, and that is outputting for outputs both 1 and 2. So output number 1 is sending pitch data to our multi-waves module, which is behaving as a VCO right now. Currently I have it set to be a a sawtooth wave. And the pitch of that is being controlled by the sequencer from the lizard module, and each step is controlled by the potentiometers here, which is controlling the pitch of my sequence. That is sending gate on and off signal to this envelope generator, which is controlling this VCA. So let's listen to that part. So like I said, I have two parts. There's two things of the sequence going on. So that is the lizard sending pitch data to the multi-waves module. And then there is a second part of this sequence, which is actually being generated by the audio switcher down here. And the way that the audio switcher works is that it samples the input from each of these 8 inputs with each step of the sequence. So as we move through our sequence, we hear whatever is momentarily being sent to this. So I have in input number 1, I have the noise being generated from the multi-waves module. Input number 4, I am getting the square wave from this LFO number 3. Input number 5 is getting the square wave from the multi-waves VCO. 7 is getting the square wave from LFO number 2. And input number 8 is getting the bandpass filter output from our VCF. So let's listen to that part of the sequence by itself and then listen to how they come together. As you see, as it steps through the sequence, it's sampling momentarily whatever the corresponding input is. So now I'm going to bring back the other part of the sequence so we can hear it all comes together. Now, a couple other points of modulation. I also have this LFO number 3 is controlling the density of the noise, so that's always changing with each pass. So there you have it, a little sequence generated by the lizard system. Thanks. Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik to discuss with you another patch that I have designed. Now today's patch was designed to be a more aggressive, buzzy bass type sound. So again, I'm going to play the sound for you for a minute or so and then explain to you how I actually did this. So let's give it a listen. Cool. So a lot of this patch was designed around utilizing the multi-mode aspect of our filter. So I'm using two oscillators, the lizard module on mode 4 type 4, and then also the multi-waves module, which is set to be a triangle wave right now. I have both of those going into inputs 1 and 2 of our filter. Now I have the lizard I have these two oscillators. They're tuned together obviously, but they are octaves apart, so you can hear, let's hear these one at a time. Our lizard's very low and our multi-waves is a few octaves higher. So it's giving you that the low and the high aspect of that timbre there. But what I'm doing is I'm actually using 2 of the outputs on our filter. I'm using the 18 dB per octave low pass filter, and that is being output into our over folder, which is then being output through a VCA and then out. And then I have the high pass filter is going right into its own VCA. and so I'm actually separating those two sounds. So the lows are getting sent through the overfolder, whereas the highs are remain clean. And you can separate that split point using the frequency knob. But then I also have mixer control over both parts, and then each part has its own envelope. So if you really want to get into some more evolving sound, you can do that. So let's play with it just for a second and hear some of the knob turn options we have. You hear me get rid of the lows there. There you go. Hey folks, Monty here today with Vinicius Electrik to discuss with you another patch that I have designed. Now today's patch is a little different. I designed this patch with the idea of trying to make a drum pattern the best that I could with this system. So I'm going to turn the sequence on and we'll hear it, and then I'll explain to you how I made this patch. So there you go, just a nice little rhythm patch. Nice little rhythm patch made with using the Lizard module that is acting as a sequencer right now, and I am only using the wave switcher aspect of it. So let's go through the inputs that I have here. So first off, the output it's just outputting right to our mixer. We don't need to run it through a VCA because it's not running, it's not an oscillator that's just running a constant pitch. What it's doing is, as it's stepping through the sequence, it's sampling each input. So we're just taking the output directly to the mixer. Now we have 8 inputs here. Inputs number 1 and 4 I have designed sort of to play the role of the kick in the sequence. So I have those taking the 2 low pass filter outputs from our filter here, which is it's basically self-resonating right now. I have the resonance turned all the way up, the frequency turned all the way down, and then I have the control voltage, the frequency being controlled by an envelope generator here. So let's listen to that. So again, that's what's happening on hits 1 and 4. Then to get our quote-unquote hi-hat type sound, I have the noise output here, and that being run into a VCA with a very short envelope to give it here. If we wanted to play with the decay on the envelope, you can mock the opening and closing of a hi-hat. Then I have that being multipled out, and I have that going into the other inputs to give me that input, that rhythm there. So, using the attenuation on the filter input here, you can control how squelchy your kick is. Then we also have the noise density knob to control the timbre of your hats. And there you go, a simple little rhythm patch using only the Lizard system. Thanks.